Peace, wealth, and wisdom. All praises to the horizon. I want to discuss balance and imbalance with you guys, as well as control and no control. Now let's discuss no control. Under no control, you have balance and imbalance. Of course, no control is the whole of the coin, and so imbalance is one side and balance is the other. The duality. Now, when you're dealing with balance, we associate this with good. This is someone who is fair. When you're dealing with imbalances, we associate this with something bad, something unfair. And so this is your duality. Balanced and imbalanced, falling under no control. Now, we've all been children, and so most children are imbalanced, meaning they truly do not understand fair and unfair. But as they grow in age, so they should balance out. And so we were all kids, we were all imbalanced. As we grow to adults, so we should begin to balance out. Now, this is all falling under no control, meaning this is how things should naturally go. As you age, you should become more fair, balanced. I'm not saying everyone's going to be perfectly balanced and fair, but you should be more fair than you were. Now, let's say someone's, going deep into the studies, and the goal is to be as balanced to perfection as they can be. Well, this can be accomplished as well. But, however, one starts like a child with their imbalances, meaning their unfair views, their biased opinions, their peer pressures, and as they grow in conscious, so they begin to become more fair and balanced. Now, as I said, that's all under no control, meaning no effort, just natural flow of life. Then you have control. Now, of course, you have the same imbalance and balance, just like under no control, but under control you have the same duality, imbalance and balance. Meaning, you've conquered the first two, meaning no control, the natural flow of life, imbalance to balance. Now, as I said, if someone's, making being completely balanced in a perfectly balanced individual the goal, so once they accomplish that, so they have, completed their practice of going from imbalance to completely balanced, under no control, meaning just the natural flow of life and perfecting it. Now, once that's accomplished, they can move over to control, meaning controlling the imbalances and the balances. What I mean by that is, imbalances create talents. Meaning when y'all see people and you like, man, they great at this. Meaning they're way better than what's normal. This is a matter of imbalances. To give you an example, of course we have a whole day, and so we have many things throughout the day to do. Now, you have the little boy. All he wants to do is shoot hoops all day. He doesn't even want to eat dinner. His mother has to come drag him in the house. Eat dinner. this is an imbalance. Meaning in him just wanting to shoot all day, he's neglecting everything else. And so this is not good for him. Or this is not good for the things he'll be neglecting. Like eating, and you get it? It will become a problem for him. But on the flip side of that, he will have a talent, which is he will probably be better than the the normal person at basketball. Because in him just doing that all day, so, you get it? It creates a talent. And this is applied to anything. The person who just kind of focuses on one thing only, so they create an imbalance. Meaning there's other things they neglect. This can become a problem for them. But they gain a talent. And so anything you're great at or anything you've ever seen someone else great at, it's a matter of that. There was a time of imbalance, or you just focusing on one thing and neglecting other things. And in that, you created a talent. And so this is how you get all talents in life. This is how you get all magnificent feats, so to say. It's a matter of imbalances. Meaning you have balance and you have imbalance. And of course we associate these things with good and bad. Once you raise above good and bad, so you have balance. This is being fair. This is good for you. Then you have imbalance. This is unfair, but it's good for you. You see how the life always patterns for you. Meaning if you're balanced and fair, so this is good for you. The life will be, stable. You'd be at peace. Never happy, never sad. Stable. Always good. Never having problems. You get it? Never having problems, never having great highs, but always just coasting. And so this is good for you. Balance. Then you have imbalance. We look at it as it's not good for you. And it's not. But, so it is. It creates a talent. If one understands the control of imbalances. Meaning most people, they have their imbalances, but it's just a matter of no control. Meaning you're unfair in situations. But I'm not speaking of that imbalance. I'm speaking of the imbalances that we have as children, which creates the talents that we have as adults. And so we kind of keep that imbalance that we had as a kid, which was creating talents, and then it starts to spoil over into judgment and other things as opposed to actions. Meaning the kid's imbalances is things like, I want to play basketball all day. And so he's not being fair when he's giving his mother a hard time. Say you got to eat too, or, child services is going to come and take you. And so he's not being fair. He has an imbalance. But it's in innocence. It's just wants to play. And so in that imbalance is going to create a talent for him. It's the same with the kid who does backflips. He say, I like backflipping. And he just does that all day. Becomes great. You get it? But it's an imbalance. It's not fair for all the things around him. You get it? And so you have to grasp. As one becomes an adult, so they have all the talents that those imbalances created. They also have their guilts now, their angers, their many backed up emotions. And so grasp. Their imbalances is not being used in creating talents, meaning the kid's imbalances is a matter of actions. The adult's imbalances is a matter of thought. And so this is when it becomes bad. To sit and ponder on things biasly or unbalanced bring about negative thought. Meaning, if a person is unbalanced, it's the matter of negative experience. You get my point? Meaning, if, let's say someone is accused of rape, and you don't have any proof they've raped someone, but you've been raped. And so you kind of scarred. Once you hear rape, you say, nah, he probably did it. That's what I mean. Imbalanced because of experiences, and they leave their damage, causing a person to kind of become unbalanced or unfair. And so I give you that example to kind of grasp what I mean when you get to adults. Theirs is more thoughts, words, and the imbalance becomes destructive. It's not a matter of creating talents, but it's a matter of destroying. And so, like I said, you have controlled, balance, and imbalance. And you have uncontrolled, balance, and imbalance. As, one raises in the levels of conscious, so one should become aware of, balance and imbalance from the control side, as I explained, with, imbalance is creating talents if you're doing something. It's like me, I kind of sequestered myself into the wisdom. And so this is an imbalance. And so it affected me on one hand, but on the other hand, it made me wise to a point where it's kind of unnatural. Say, man, he can break down things that I just couldn't believe a person could. And so it's a matter of controlled imbalances. And so that's why it's important you guys begin to grasp the levels of conscious. Meaning, you have your brain, which is your spine. You have your brain, which is your spine. I know many people believe it's this. That's what science teaches, I understand. Now I'm telling you, your brain is your spine. This is the scepter. And so the top of your spine, meaning its top, is your central brain area. Beneath that, cervical part of the spine. All the way down to your coccyx. And so you have your central brain as the top of the spine. Your coccyx is the bottom. That whole thing is your brain. And so you have two brains, your upper brain or your lower brain, you can say. Now, of course, the bottom brain, this one is first. And so the spine develops as the body is developing in the womb, of course. Central brain is second. But this, meaning the head, is viewed as first. Of course, the ass is viewed as the tail end. And so this is where you get your first shall be last and last shall be first phrase. Meaning when the body's developing, ain't no head or tail, but inside the embryo, so, or the neural tube, same difference. You have the spine developing. And so, of course, the first part of the spine to develop is the bottom part, the root, the coccyx, then the sacrum, then the lumbar, then the thoracic, then the cervical. Then, of course, central brain and the rest of the brain starts to form. My point? Coccyx is first. But once, all is developed, so it's last. And so, of course, you have your brain, as I said, which is the whole of your spine. The top half and the bottom half. Now, of course, you have the central brain. This is like your innocent area or your beginnings. Just look at it as a baby. Meaning we talking feeling and emotion or conscious. This part of the conscious is more innocent, more, not negative. Beneath that you have cervical spine, so no different. Beneath that you have upper thoracic, and so, this is somewhere in between, negative and positive thought and emotion. Beneath the thoracic, of course, you have the lumbar spine, and so you can look at that as the reverse. This is your negative thought and emotion. Kind of look at it as a baby growing up to adult. So as it gets older, it will rack on, an abundance of negative thought and negative emotion from whatever experiences it may go through. Look at the 7 parts of the spine that way, meaning the central brain, cervical part of the spine, which is the neck part, the upper thoracic, the lower thoracic, the lumbar, sacrum, coccyx. Look at those 7 parts of the spine, which is the whole of the brain. As I said, the spine is the brain. That's the scepter. Now, look at those 7 parts, as I just said, and view them as the baby example, where the baby has, no negative thought, no negative emotion. It's just a new baby. As it grows up, it begins to rake it on. Look at the 7 parts of the brain or spine that way. The central brain is like a new baby in thought and feeling, meaning it's not raked on, any emotional thought or feeling. You can look at the cervical part of the spine as, a little older than a baby. Maybe, a toddler or a kid. You can look at the upper thoracic as, maybe a teenager. Has, in between. Kind of has emotional problems. Kind of still innocent. Lower thoracic, kind of getting a little negative. This is an adult. Look at, the lumbar, going all the way down to the sacrum, kind of like just getting more negative and more, negative thought and more negative emotion. And so these are your 7 parts of your conscious, so to say. Now, of course, this is your spine I'm speaking of. Your body being a world, just like the world you're in. And so when the cells in your body, which is just the smaller level of life within you, meaning, same way you have organisms here, you have cells within your world, just a smaller level of life. When they die, so the energy within them or the spirit within them, it will return to your spine, to its part. You get it? Meaning, if the cell was, like a baby, emotionally, so to say, meaning this person or this cell lived its life, but it didn't rake on too much, negative emotion and thought. It kind of figured out how to cleanse itself and, well, it will go, central brain, so on and so forth. And so, like I said, as the cells are dying, their energies or spirits are returning to that spinal chamber, where you have your 7 parts of the spine, or your 7 levels of conscious. And so, as these cells are dying and their energies are returning to your spine, its specific part. This is adding to your conscious, meaning we pull our thoughts from the spine, of course, this being the brain. Whatever level of conscious we resonate at, so to say. And so, you have to look at it like that. If the thoughts are negative and the emotion is negative throughout most of the day, so the conscious will resonate at its place in the spine. And so, I don't want to get too much on the mental healing, because that goes with that. But, so this is your spine. That's how that works in the world. Now, of course, you can say that's your dead realms. Your hall of the living, your hall of the dead. I say that, well, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth say that because the coccyx part of the spine, this is over the sperm and the testes, are the egg cell. These are the dead realms, the things that's, the bottoms of the world, so to say. And then you have your central brain. This is kind of where, that ejaculation comes from. This being the spirit of. And so, like, when I ejaculate, this is coming from my spirit, what's unseen within. And so, that's coming from up here, central brain area. And so, as I said, you have the cells in the body. When they die, their spirits and things will return to the spinal chamber. But before that, of course, they all live in their area of the body. Now, of course, these 7 parts of the spine, they correlate with the 7 chakra. This being what y'all call planets, but this is just energy, bounding the cells to their area of the spine, as well as the outer body, or the body, the inner body, but the part that's not associated with the spine. Meaning that's for when the cells die, the energy that's within them goes there. And so you can use it as above, so below. Meaning I'm using your inner body explaining, but it's the same with us. When we die, or animals die, so the energy, the spirit within, returns to its place in the spinal chamber, which is where y'all see the sun rising and setting. It's going from the sacrum up to the crown. Sacrum up to the crown. Kind of like going to sleep and waking up. This is what's happening with you when you go to sleep and wake up. And so, like I said, you have the cells in the body before they die. And so, the 7 chakra, which is just energy bounding, the life to its area of the body, is no different. And so, you can say Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, sacrum is Saturn, Uranus, coccyx. And so you have the cells living in that area of the body, or the organisms, if you're talking this larger world, living in that area of the body. And so you have Venus chakra, which is our Venus planet, which is, higher up. And so you have the organisms or the cells living in that area of the body, which is the world. Then you have the throat chakra area, or Venus. I'm sorry if I said the first one was Venus, I meant Mercury, but you have the throat chakra area, Venus. You have the cells that live in that area. Then you have the heart chakra area, or Earth. And the cells that live in that area are the organisms, either or. You have Mars, or your solar plex chakra. You have the cells or organisms that live in that area of the world. Then, of course, you have Jupiter, or your abdomen chakra, the one beneath the solar plex. And so, Jupiter, or your abdomen chakra, you have the cells or organisms living in that area of the body. I say cells or organisms, meaning If you're talking about your body or world, cells. If you're talking this larger body or world, organisms. But it's the same. And so, beneath Jupiter is Saturn. This is your sacrum. And so, the cells or organisms live in that area. No different. Then you have the coccyx. This is where you have your sperm cells dead in the testes, so to say. You're dead in the world. And so this is your orders of the geography of the body, so to say. And I guess in the next video, I'll come and explain why it's important. Meaning why this is important in your life. Meaning we all live, we all die. We all will return to that chamber or that spine in the world or body we live in. This being our spirits, our emotions, our thoughts, us as consciousness, will return to its place. Of course, if there's too much negative and emotional feeling and thought attached, so the lower down the spine, these spirits will go. These spirits being, those of us when we die. If it's too much, so, of course, this is what makes for your sperm cells in the testes. Now, why all of this is important is because, of course, we will all die, but we all live before that point. And so this is why you want to cleanse the thoughts, cleanse the emotional state ever so often. Because y'all rack up, emotional damage. This is going to play a part in the after. Now, like I said, I'll come back and explain to you why, spirits are kind of forced through religion, nationality, all the things that colonization bring. Meaning colonization, you get nationality, religion, this whole system, prison, school, all these different brainwashings, all these different things to make y'all oppose one another. You got different religions. They make y'all oppose one another. You get it? You got different nationalities, so it make y'all oppose one another. Even though y'all all believe we all come from a common ancestor, lest we wouldn't all be here. And so, grasp. You only have 3 races. Or 3 kinds of man. Indigenous, white albino, and what they would call demigod are the different variations or nationalities of people you have after colonization. And so grasp, this going from white to black. Whatever nationalities, I know we all view each other separately, but this is a matter of colonization. And so grasp. If you go back to the beginnings, white albino colonized dark indigenous man lands, this being the first. And so you get your mixed variations of white and mixed variations of black people. This being nationalities. And so, of course, some of the whites go on continuing to colonize. So you get the same repeat over and over on every continent, meaning different variations of people from colonization over generations of mixing. When that happens, they start viewing each other different. You say, he's white, I'm black, I don't see how we the same. Well, if you go back a few generations, then you would. And so we view each other separately because of colonization. This is how you get nationality. Why it's important people grasp that, We are all one race, and then you have the indigenous men as another race that we supposed to protect. And then you have the white albino race that y'all never see. They control everything. They the one that create the religion and all the things that we kind of follow. Meaning everything that's brought with colonization. Everything that's brought with colonization is being your religions, your nationalities, all these things, is brought with your first initial colonizers, which is those white albinos, which y'all never see. They bring all of that with the colonization for one purpose, so that y'all can be opposing. If y'all are opposing, y'all will never realize y'all are kind of being controlled. And so you can say we can overthrow those white albinos, but this is a matter of conscience being raised. Meaning y'all haven't even got to a point where y'all realize any of this. Meaning colonizing, all these things happen, you get nationality, y'all are still lost in the nationalities and things. Y'all haven't gotten to a level of conscience to realize, okay, this is all manipulation game. And so when the white races and the black races realize they are one race, and then you have the indigenous men, these are those that, run around butt naked in the forest, they are all their own race, and they're important to this life. Meaning we all cells in the body, and so they important. You have those white albino cells. They're kind of like virus cells in a sense. Germ cells, migrating cells. And then you have us. We the mixture of them both, so to say. A whole new race of cells, so to say. And so you can kind of say we need to be protected. The indigenous men are the normal cells of the body. Now, the reason, religion and all these things are forced upon us is so that we can be opposing. Of course, y'all rack up a lot of negativity if people are fighting and always arguing and at a state of grief. Well, when y'all die believing in these religions and these different nationalities and things, these things cause for y'all, when y'all die, the spirit to return to the spine and set low, down to the sacrum. Why that's important? Spirits being sacrificed to below is how you get puberty. This is how you get, he who is condemned to below, so to say. In all worlds of bodies, meaning all bodies develop the same. They're worlds. I don't care what level of life it is, whether it's solar level of life, organism, cell, they all start the same. He who is condemned to that, bottomless deep, that where the sperm cell are, he who is always condemned to that realm needs sperm cells there. Sperm cells just being your cells in the body that just, like I said, too much negative emotion and thought racked on. And so they all the way at the bottoms of your spine. You're dead. But they need be there because when the body is developing, so it will, eventually reach puberty. Because of that, how much life or energy or spirits are below. That's why in the beginning of the world you have the sacrificing to Baal and all of that. Like I said, I'll come back and explain that more in depth, but grasp the biology of the world, our body, as I was explaining in this video, and kind of learn to control the emotional state and grasp imbalances and balances. Conquering one first before you, go on to practice on the other. It's the wise one. Peace, wealth, and wisdom.